Oklahoma and Missouri get set to do battle Saturday in Norman. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Sooners and the Tigers. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, when we get going, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. We are inching ever so close to that 30,000 subscriber mark, and we can't do it without your love and support. Also, make sure you check out our friends over at FANDUEL, because as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FANDUEL. FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get in on the action today. This is one of the most underrated bad blood games on the SEC schedule, that being when Oklahoma and Missouri meet on the gridiron, whether it be players that have transferred over from one side or another, whether you think about the rivalry that has taken place over the years. These two teams have played over 90 times on the gridiron, and the latest edition will be this Saturday. It's Sooners, it's Tigers at Memorial Stadium in Norman, and we are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. As always, joining me, as he always does, my co-host, colleague, partner in crime, one of the best in the business, Mr. Cole Thompson. Bear, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Really excited to talk about this game. A lot on the line for both sides. If you're Mizzou, sure, your college football playoff hopes are essentially dead. But, Bear, you got an opportunity to ruin what I think you maybe consider a rival season in Oklahoma by handing them their third loss, thus effectively, more than likely, knocking them out as well. You can play spoiler. And then, of course, it's Oklahoma, which has become one of the hottest teams in college football. Back-to-back road ranked wins, back-to-back wins that most everyone was skeptical they'd get in Tennessee and Alabama. How do you build off of it? You're 2 wins away from reaching the promised land. That's all it takes, but the first of those 2 hurdles coming against MIZ.
8 quarters away from going to the college football playoff, but the only focus is 1 quarter at a time, especially for Oklahoma's offense. You didn't have an elite day whatsoever against Alabama, but you did just enough to guarantee your defense caught its breath, went back to the sidelines, readjusted some stuff, and they were able to capitalize and score 17 points off of turnovers, putting you in a position to where now college football playoff hopes very, very much alive and well. And you know what? I'll tell you, Chris, Oklahoma is a very select team that I would be fearful of playing in the college football playoff, a 1-game eliminator, because all I need to see is that offense get slightly hot, and they may be the most complete roster currently in the race that nobody is talking about. As for Mizzou, Ahmad Hardy back in the saddle as true RB1 in college football. 300 total yards coming up against a team in Mississippi State that's not a great defense, but it's not a bad defense. What's the encore? And remind yourself, guys, this is a former Big 12 rivalry. This is a former matchup to where there is bad blood between these two, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the recruiting numbers, whether it's stealing players at the last second, the Caden Green scandal that went on. There is no love lost between these two sidelines. Missouri, with Drew Pine, got an upset win last season. Zion Young sacking Jackson Arnold in what had to be the most chaotic, disgusting game of college football 2024. Got a little bit of revenge on your mind if you're Oklahoma to go welcome them into the Palace on the Prairie. Go ahead and take them out before it gets and make it ugly pretty fast.
Yeah, I was going to say, Bear, that game last year, certainly probably one of the ugliest of the college football season. One of the wackiest, too, like you mentioned. Again, this one taking place this Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time, kickoff being aired on ABC. Of course, it's down in Norman, Oklahoma at Memorial Stadium. Bear, Oklahoma is a 7.5-point favorite. The over-under set at 42.5. Vegas is expecting a low-scoring game down there at the Palace on the Prairie. Bear, Oklahoma, they lead the all-time series 67, 25, and 5. So, I mean, it's been very one-sided. The Sooners obviously have been able to dominate the series, but you mentioned last year, Mizzou won that football game by a final score of 30-23, you might recall. And again, it was a much different looking Oklahoma team, a lot of blunders, a lot of mistakes, and credit Mizzou for forcing those, but really weird back and forth game, turnovers, big momentum swinging plays in that game, and Mizzou was able to get the dub. Bear, as we move into the football game, obviously, like you said, we know what's on the line here. Oklahoma, 8 quarters away from the college football playoff. Mizzou's still with an opportunity. I think if you're Missouri, you look at it, hey, you know, maybe we're not going to go to a playoff, but hey, for the, what would it be, 3rd consecutive season, I believe you can get to 10 wins. I mean, it's still possible sitting at 7-3, 3-3 in SEC play. And you feel really good that if you win this one, you got Arkansas to close out the season, and we know what the Hogs have been to this point. So you can still get to double-digit wins for MIZ. On the field, I think it has to start with, and you brought up his name, Ahmad Hardy. Rushed for 300 last week. Not that he ever went away, but sort of kind of faded in the background while Missouri was struggling a little bit with back-to-back losses at Vandy and against Texas A&M. That's going to be the big matchup here, right? I mean, Oklahoma's front seven and what they do, and we saw them last week against Alabama. I called them the great equalizer. They can erase a lot of deficiencies elsewhere. They can change a ball game just like that. Obviously, taking care of the football for Missouri is going to be vital. You saw what Oklahoma did last week, the way it flipped the game, especially if Corey Batoon and company are able to hold that Oklahoma offense in check. You feel like, hey, we can play this thing equal. We can play this thing square. We don't give them anything. We're going to have a shot to win this football game and pull the upset in Norman. But for Oklahoma defensively and Brent Venables, it's very simple, but not simple to do, but it's very simple to say. It's got to start with slowing down Ahmad Hardy.
You know what I think of Ahmad Hardy? It's like the girl that goes away for a year on a, European vacation with her family, and then she comes back, or she's like studying abroad. You forget about her because out of sight, out of mind. But then when she comes back into the limelight, oh my God, she's the prettiest girl here. I have to talk to her. I have to figure out that was Ahmad Hardy. People kind of forgot how talented he was, what he was able to accomplish early on in the season. And then Jeremiah Love starts to get a lot of love. And then we talk about guys currently at the G5 level, and we throw in guys like Kevin Lately at Ole Miss. And it's like, well, Ahmad Hardy's just a dude. And then he reminds you, no, he's the dude. He is the best running back in the SEC. He may be the best running back in college football when all things are according to plan. He leads the country in yards after contact. He leads the country in total rushing yards. He's in the top 5 in touchdowns, in touches, in yards per play. He is everything that you want, and you're going to have to lean on him in this game because we don't know what the status is of Bo Pabula. Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports came out with a report saying that they're going to test him this week to see if he is prepared to go on out there. But an injury like that he suffered just less than a month ago is still very tender. So he may be on a snap count. It may still be Matt Zollers to begin the game, and you just have a few certain design runs here and there that eventually lead to you trusting that Ahmad Hardy, that Bo Pabula is going to be the guy to come on in and make those plays. And it's a very small sample size, but it's enough to guarantee you make this a 4-quarter battle. I'm going to call Oklahoma's defensive line not the X factor. I'm going to call them the Sooner Typhoon, because of it's not like the Crimson Tide wall that comes on it, but the Sooner Typhoon, a typhoon wave destroys everything in its path. There is no shot of you finding any success of surviving. You just have to accept the inevitable that's coming your way. Every team this year has had to accept the inevitable of facing off against this front seven. That's just what they do. They're in the top 3 in rushing yards allowed per game. They're in the top 3 in rushing yards allowed per play. They're number 2 in the country in that standpoint, with only giving up 2.48. They've only allowed 6 rushing touchdowns, and they've only allowed 2 runs of over 20-plus yards downfield for touchdowns. So they do a good job of making the quarterback beat you. And honestly, in this game, that's going to be the plan if you are Oklahoma. We understand that John Mateer has some limitations. He's not at the same level that he was when he was before the hand surgery. We get it. There are some things that we can't do offensively. But if we just play to the strength of our defense and say, hey, buy Ahmad Hardy, beat us Zollers, do it that way, you got to feel pretty good about where you stand going into this matchup for the 4th quarter. I think that's really what this comes down to. Hardy is the ball that keeps on moving, and he slowly is turning into what is that snowball avalanche style. And if you let him get that big, he is going to explode everywhere, and it is going to be a terror out in Norman. But that Sooner Typhoon, the exact same thing. Destroys everything in its path. Takes it on out. Makes it a quick, easy, painless death.
I mean, if it comes down to quarterback play, Bear, I think we'd both agree, right? We side with Oklahoma and John Mateer. I know he hasn't been great, but if I got to pick a guy that's going to pop off in this game, and I saw some things from Mateer I thought they were encouraging. I mean, he had the big touchdown run against Alabama. The passing numbers haven't been great by any means, but yeah, I mean, we're definitely giving the nod to Oklahoma at the quarterback position.
No, without question. I think that also you give the nod to Oklahoma on the quarterback position because of there's just some things that you trust. And that's the mobility standpoint, and that's understanding where to tuck and run. I think that there still is a pretty good rapport when it comes to Isaiah Satanga and Deion Burks and Jaron Kanik. And that's not to say that Zollers can't get there. And if Bo Pabula plays in this game, I think that Bo Pabula makes an argument that there are some things that he does a lot better than John Mateer, but that's when he's at 100%. He's not at 100%. He may be lucky to be at 60% in this game. And so the things that make Bo Pabula such a dynamic force may be limited. And if that's going to be where you are, you trust number 10, where he may end up having a really, really bad throw. He may end up throwing in double coverage that leads to an interception. But he can make up for it because there's just one more other pass that he can just get the dink and dunk off of and just constantly move the sticks. I think he's good in the pocket. I think he does a good job of understanding his surroundings. I think he's back at the level of knowing when to tuck and run and when to just go and let it fly. And those are some things I think are going to be really detrimental in this game. Key matchups on certain drives, 2nd and 6. Can you convert and not have to worry about making a play on 3rd down? For 1st and 10, setting the tone on an opening drive. Can you maybe get that deep shot to Satanga downfield or find Jerry Kanek for a gain of 18? Are those little details carrying so much weight that eventually it sets the tone for this game to where you just need to get a few scores, or at least in range for Tate Sandell to guarantee that he's going to easily make a 50-yard kick. And I'm not saying it's an easy kick at 50 yards. I'm saying for Tate Sandell, it's just another day at the office.
Bo Pabula gonna try to make a run at it. Very, very interesting. I'm very curious, Bear, to see if he's able to go. Like you said, though, I don't know. He's certainly a better option than Zollers, all due respect. But I mean, how close is he to 100%? Really? That's the thing. And I mean, I don't know that trotting a wounded duck out there against this Oklahoma defense is a very wise choice. And you got to think Brent Venables and company are going to have a great game plan, especially if he plays, and whether he plays or not. But I think especially if he plays, dude, you're going to be aggressive getting after him. Like, let's test him early. Like let's see how comfortable he really is and how healthy he really is. Certainly, that is probably the storyline coming in outside of the stuff that's kind of off the field with the intangibles of Oklahoma's, playoff hopes, whatever. Like on the field, like I think that's the big question here is like, what does Bo Pabula give you really? Because he was really good early. I mean, people forget. I mean, what's it been, like a month since he played? Something like that? It's been a little while.
We're pushing almost a month.
Yeah, been pushing right at a month. I mean, it's been a while since he played. I think people kind of forget how good he was. Had his struggles, but was pretty damn solid. So let me ask you, like, how if I told you right now he plays and he's 100%, let's say, like, how much does that change your outlook of the game?
I think it changes the way that you can call plays if you're Kirby Moore, which again is
you can have a lot more balance, I think, for sure.
Yeah, it's a better beneficiary. Again, I mean, like, you gotta give credit where credit's due. Mizzou, for as much as we've talked about them, their season not being at the same level as Oklahoma, as they don't have as much to play for because they can't go to the playoff. They're still a top 30 defense in every single metric, and they could slow down John Mateer to where if your passing attack with Kevin Coleman or Donovan O or Marquise Johnson or Brett Norfleet picks on up just enough, you can find your way in the end zone, and this could be a 17-14 finish, but 17 points is more than 14. That gets a win, and that keeps that 10-win season alive if you're Eli Drinkwitz. And the other thing that's really important here is that we're all focusing on the Lane Kiffin thing, and well, we should be because of that's the team that's going to the playoff. Eli Drinkwitz is still a name listed for multiple jobs that could be on the move if he believes that there's a ceiling at a place like Missouri. So much like everyone's talking about, Lane's got to be convinced that there's no ceiling at Ole Miss. Same thing for a team like Mizzou. You want to win this game to be able to prove that there are still untapped potential that you can reach here that we can accomplish, including playing the ultimate spoiler role for a team that we thought the last 2 weeks was dead on arrival going into matchups in Neyland and going into matchups in Tuscaloosa. Return the favor by what they've been doing to teams in their backyard, you do it in their backyard. But for the game plan standpoint, Zollers is a lot of, we got to do the dink and dunk at bare minimum because we cannot afford to have him throwing into double coverage and making some plays. We got to make life easy because he's a quarterback not ready to start. Pabula gives you a little bit more up. Pabula allows you to go ahead and say, you remember that play that we used against Kansas that got us the win when we were down by 3 scores? Let's run that because we feel comfortable with him running that, where you don't feel that way when it comes to a guy like a Matt Zollers.
I'm curious, Bear, to see from the Oklahoma perspective, speaking of running games, how they're able to run the football in this game. 192 rushing yards against Tennessee. Followed that up against Bama, not quite as productive an outing, but still, comparatively to what they've done previously, I thought pretty solid. What do we get out of Xavier Robinson, Torrey Blaylock, obviously John Mateer as well? What do we get out of the rushing attack? And I think the big thing, too, listen, Oklahoma deserves all the credit in the world. That they have not won games via smoke and mirrors. That is way too aggressive. But the recipe the last 2 games has been pretty much the same. Like, the offense hasn't been anything crazy, but they forced turnovers. They've converted those into points. They have been very, very good at that. What if we see us, like, can Oklahoma win this game if they don't force a turnover? That, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm wondering is, is Oklahoma, are they catching fire at the right time and the offense is going to kind of catch up to where the defense, I think, already is? Or is this just the recipe? Does Oklahoma have to force 2 or 3, score on one of them, get it in plus territory? Like, is that their recipe to win? Or, as you like to say, is there a secondary punch? Can the offense pick up the slack and kind of, you know what I mean, catch up with where the defense is? Because, like I said, the last 2 wins have been great, but you take nothing away. But if you have to play those straight up, and let's just say Mizzou plays conservative, even this doesn't turn the football over, what does this game look like? Are you still that team, or has it been aided by that? So that's my big question going into here.
I think a mix of both. The one thing I will say is that I would like to see a little bit more from from Oklahoma's offensive personnel, and I want to see it outside of just the rushing attack. Again, Alabama, they were able to slow you down. You kind of counteracted that with a few explosive plays to get in the range for Tate Sandell. Can you close on that? Because the thing that I think that we get lost with all the time is that people want to say, well, Oklahoma can't run the football. And look, it was proven against Alabama. Well, before that, they were coming in with 4 straight games of a 100-yard rusher. Well, Oklahoma, they don't have a number 1 wide receiver. Guys, Isaiah Satenga was averaging 78 yards per game, and he was getting 6 catches, and he was killing it with like 18 yards per play. And Jaron Kanik was doing a good job of moving the sticks, and you were feeling really comfortable with Deion Burks playing your number 2 role. So can we just see a little bit more of that? Getting back to what we witnessed against a team that wasn't Alabama, which is, again, a very solid defense. Like, we do not give enough credit for what Corey Batoon and company have done this past year, because they're top 25 in every single metric. They're a top 15 pass defense. They're able to capitalize and create turnovers just like Oklahoma does. I'll tell you what this game would be really interesting to see it come down to. Special teams. And I know that sounds like it's a slap in the face, but Chris, one team has an All-American kicker that, in my opinion, is a field goal away from locking up the Lou Groza Award, from being considered for the NFL. And you got another team that has had 3 guys kick field goals this year with a field goal percentage of 75%, and they've only made 1 kick of over 50 yards downfield. So, I mean, like, if this is what it comes down to, and we're like, hey, Tate Sandell, you can make a 52. All we got to do is get in that range, and we'll just take 3. And as long as our defense can hold them into field goal range, do we trust that Robert Mayer is going to make the kick? Do we trust that we're going to see anything from Oliver Robinson? Like, do we trust those things? Because I'll tell you what, I don't think you're going to see it from Blake Craig, because he ain't playing the rest of the year. So it's like, what do you do at that standpoint? It may end up being field positioning on opening drives and special teams. Keep in mind, Chris, one of the scoring drives for Oklahoma came on the ability to cover a punt return that was a muff field, gave them the ball inside of the red zone. Field positioning based off of special teams and kicking may end up deciding this football game. And it's not great if you're on Oklahoma to say, oh, yeah, well, we guarantee you that we can win in the playoffs, because you still have when it comes to the offense. But I'll be completely honest. You have 3 of the best wins in college football this year. At this point, you're just trying to survive the next 8 quarters to be at 10-2 and punch your ticket in the playoff.
Admittedly, Bear, I'd love to be in the building because I know the toxicity is going to be through the roof. I know that it's funny. I don't know that Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma doesn't really consider Mizzou a rival. I think Mizzou maybe somewhat considers Oklahoma, but there's a hatred. I mean, I was there in Norman, obviously, the beginning of the season, and literally there is a clip from our guy Tyler McComas where he says, Missouri, you're not a real SEC team. Go to the Sun Belt. We don't want you. So there is a lack of respect from the Sooner side for MIZ. Obviously, MIZ getting the big win last year. Oklahoma will try to get their revenge. Bear, that being said, let's lock in some picks. Let's lock in some predictions. Would you like the honors? You want me to start first with this one?
I'm going to let you go first on this one.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, my big question with Oklahoma. Last 2 games have been great. Nobody picked them. Certainly, I didn't. I've doubted them the last 2 games and back-to-back road wins against ranked opponents. I mean, God, give them credit. It's one of the hottest teams in college football. But like I said, I just wonder. I wonder again, smoke and mirrors is way too aggressive. That makes it sound like I'm saying that like that's not really who they are. And I think that is who they are. I think Oklahoma, they're forcing those mistakes. Go look back at the Bama game. Like they forced the mistakes, right? They did. So that's their style of play. I'd like to see the offense catch up a little bit. I'd like to see a little bit more out of the passing game with John Mateer. I'd like to see more consistency out of the running game. But they are doing enough. From the Missouri standpoint, it's so interesting. What is going to happen with Bo Perbula? Obviously, they can come in. They can play spoiler. I agree with you. Corey Batoon's one of the more underrated defensive minds in the conference. They're an underrated defense, period. They can make some things happen. They can get the football off you. And then, of course, Mr. Ahmad Hardy, Mr. Jamal Roberts, who we should have talked about more as well. That 1-2 punch, but, of course, led by Hardy. Slowing him down is much easier said than done. He is a load to bring down, and they are really, really good when it comes to running the football. That's going to be a great battle in the trenches. Mizzou's O-line, Oklahoma's D-line. That being said, like I said, Bear, I'm wondering what it looks like if Oklahoma loses the turnover battle, for example. What does that look like for OU? Can they overcome that and win a game? Here's the good news. I don't think we're going to find that out this week because I think Oklahoma, the way they're playing right now with the momentum in which they're playing, I think you're going to see more of the same. I think they're going to force 2 or 3 turnovers. I think they're going to get the ball in plus territory. Even if Bo Perbula plays, I don't know if I really want to trot my quarterback out there less than 100% playing against this defense. I don't know how wise of a decision that is. You might just have to roll with the Zollers kid, and I do think I trust Brent Venables and company to scheme around slowing down Ahmad Hardy to where Missouri has to go to something else, that being the passing game, and I just don't think they're going to be able to do that at a consistent enough level. Again, I think this defense, you talk to coaches, and, like, they'll tell you, like, some of turnovers is luck, right? Right place, right time, but a lot of it's coaching and a lot of it's execution and a lot of it's football IQ, and Oklahoma's got all 3 of those. And so, again, I think they're going to carry that momentum. I think the offense will be a little bit better. I think John Mateer will be a little bit better. Not going to be anything crazy, but I will not be surprised if Oklahoma gets a defensive score in this game. I think it's going to be kind of the same song and dance we've seen the last 2 games. A little bit higher scoring, but I do have Oklahoma prevailing, getting their revenge. They're one of the hottest teams in college football. Again, 8 quarters away. They know what's at stake. They're on a mission at home in front of the home faithful. It feels like it's been forever since they've been at Memorial Stadium. They'll capitalize. I believe, is this homecoming? This might not be homecoming. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
It's too late for homecoming.
Maybe it is too late for homecoming. I don't know. Either way, it's a huge game in Norman, and I think Oklahoma prevails. Give me Sooners 33, Mizzou 20. I think it's a higher scoring game than Vegas expects. I think Oklahoma wins this game by double digits. I do. I think they pull away late in the game. I think it's a competitive game, but I think they pull away late in this one. Mizzou had a great win last week against Mississippi State. That's awesome. But this ain't Mississippi State, man. This is a different beast, different challenge. I think OU plays well, secures a 33-20 win.
Listen, I think this comes down to 2 main things. That's really all this is what to say. Number 1, special teams. It was the same thing that happened in the Alabama game. Alabama was over 1 on field goal attempts. Oklahoma was 3-3. Guess what? One team won because of it.
One team fumbled a punt and one team didn't.
Yep. So special teams play a big time deal in this game because I think field positioning is going to be massive for Oklahoma. I think the shorter that you're able to go ahead and work with John Mateer, it benefits you. I think the other thing is, can you slow down Ahmad Hardy? I mean, like this to me truly is the Ahmad Hardy last second gauge for a Heisman Trophy run. Now, I'm not saying that he is going to win the award because it's already almost impossible for anyone outside of a quarterback to do so. But if you want to be in the Big Apple, a good way to go make sure that the voters are paying attention is run rampant against one of the best defensive lines in college football. Can number 29 do enough on the Palace on the Prairie against the Sooner Typhoon that gets them into a position to where they're scoring points? I would not play Bo Perbula in this game. I wouldn't. I think there's far too much of a long-term reaction to this standpoint. You got a quarterback that you believe you can build around for next season as well because he's got another year of eligibility. The last thing that you want to do is put your team in a position where you end up losing him for next season. So you got to roll it out with the Zollers kid. And again, I think that Matt Zollers should end up being a really, really good player at some point. But I also think that there is a message that needs to be sent from Oklahoma's standpoint that we are built different, that this year is a little bit different. This year is right where we were meant to be. We had our lows, now we have our highs. And when you peak at the right time, you become one of the most dangerous programs in college football. I think that's what we're trying to see from an Oklahoma squad right now. Defensively, they're there. Offensively, they want to say that we're here. They want to say we're about ready to arrive. I think that this is, again, another game that John Mateer, that you brought him in for to guarantee that you're able to, late in the season, check off all the boxes and quiet everyone's questions about if you can be a playoff team. And that's what this comes down to. I think Oklahoma internally knows they're a playoff team. I think Oklahoma internally knows that they've been tested. But if they got to go ahead and answer the question for 8 more quarters, so be it. We're more than happy to oblige. And I agree with you. Surprisingly, the line is only set at 42.5. 42.5. I think the over hits. And honestly, the reason the over hits is that defense is going to get a pick 6, or they're going to get a scoop and score fumble recovery. And so I'm also going a little bit higher scoring. I'm going to go 34-13. I think if the defense does a good enough job of slowing down Ahmad Hardy, making this basically a one-dimensional offense to where you got to throw the football. MIZ, I love you, but I just think it's a little bit too little too late, and I'm looking at Oklahoma. They remember what happened last season when Zion Young scooped and scored with less than a minute left to go ahead and guarantee their 10-win season. They want to make sure they guarantee their 10-win season on the horizon too.
Belt to ass, says the Bear. Belt to ass down in Norman. Guys, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think is going to happen in this one? Oklahoma, Mizzou, who comes out on top Saturday at Memorial Stadium? Let us know your predictions when the Sooners and Tigers do battle. Guys, that's going to do all for us. We appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Because as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. It's NBA tip-off week, and FanDuel is your home for live betting. So even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel's got live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join, because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to sign up today. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Guys, once again, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, all across your favorite social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. We're signing off. Appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you all on the other side.